Hello and welcome to the Mindfulness online meditation. Thank you for being here. We're here to support each other in our regular formal practice. So your presence counts. Sometimes it's hard to keep going with regular meditation on our own. So we meet here on a weekly basis to do a guided meditation, and I share a few words on a subject related to mindfulness. And today I'll say something about empathy. And before we practice, it's worth just reflecting for a moment on empathy. It's to do with feeling for someone, and it can include feeling for yourself. And when we practice, we're encouraged to be kind and gentle. And this helps to lay down the big critical stick and to be on our own side, to be our own best friend. So having some empathy, being in our own shoes and identifying more with how we're really feeling rather than the head that says how we should be feeling or what we should be doing or how we should be in general as a person. So watching for those judgmental thoughts and setting them aside as best we can to allow ourselves to be with ourselves as we are and to be there empathically with kindness, with that sort of allowing and accepting attitude. It helps to sit in a dignified posture, but it's not imperative. Sitting upright helps us to stay alert, and it's a little bit of fake it till you make it. You know, if you sit up tall and dignified, then it can help us to feel more more in a state of mastery. Here we go. 10 minutes mindfulness of the breath with a special attention to empathy and kindness. With our eyes closed, we allow ourselves to come into the moment. And a good way to do this is through noticing the physical sensations in the body. How does it actually feel to sit? Which parts of the body can we feel? And as we notice, we might be aware of our contact with the chair. Maybe there are some places of warmth and pressure. We may be aware of our feet, either tucked under us, cross-legged, or simply resting on the floor. In touch with our socks or shoes or air or carpet. So we're noticing physical sensations. Being interested, scanning through, And in this way, even with a distracted mind, we come a little bit more into the moment. We can feel ourselves here. Coming out of the thoughts and more into those physical feelings. Touch, contact, pressure, warmth. And maybe those feelings move and change. And once we are here, however imperfectly, we can invite our attention to the breath. Breathing naturally. And adopting a light touch. Observing with interest how it feels to breathe. Not interrogating, but warmly attending. The breath is happening naturally. And we are here observing kindly. Feeling perhaps the abdomen moving. The rib cage rising and falling. Or the air passing in the nostrils. Being attentive and interested, and being aware when the mind wanders. It's not an error or a fault. It's what happens when we decide to focus on the breath. We do so for moments and then the mind takes us off. So our job is to notice where it goes and to come back gently to the breath until the next time it strays off. And once again, with patience, we come back to that sense of expanding on the in-breath, sinking on the out breath. The gentle stretch, release, and maybe feelings of the skin moving against clothes. We may be aware of the pauses between breaths. We may be aware of tensions or places of holding. And all the time, coming back to the breath, warmly, adopting an attitude of empathy and self-compassion. Being kind with ourselves, no matter how focused or distracted our practice. And using the breath as an anchor, a place to come back to be with ourselves and in the moment with kindness. Not attaching to thoughts, not attaching to blissful states. Prepared to be the kindly observer of whatever happens as we sit and notice the breath. Watching each breath with interest, observing closely. And just a few more moments in mindful awareness. And when we're ready, opening our eyes and feeling feeling that transition to keeping some of that self-awareness and kindness as we move into the next part of our day. it's very handy to check in with ourselves regularly, and whether we do it with a formal practice or just a breath and a pause and how am I feeling? Where am I? Can I be with myself as things are right now? It's a really good way of taking stock and maintaining this sense of connection and empathy for ourselves. So the part of the brain that lights up when we experience empathy is the insula. And the insula is active in our ability to connect in a human way. And it allows us to feel empathy in a very visceral way, not an intellectual process, but to really feel for others, feel what others are feeling, and to feel what we are feeling. And the more we meditate in a mindful way, paying attention kindly to our moment by moment experience, the more the insula develops and the more ready it is to light up and put us in touch with ourselves and others. And when we do that, it's very connected with compassion and self-compassion, and it's good for our health and it's good for our mood. And so we have this beneficial circle of the more we meditate, the more the insula is active, and the more the insula is active, the more empathetic we are, and the more we can experience compassion and self-compassion, and that improves our health and our emotional state. And so each time that we meditate and we take the time to be there with ourselves kindly, we are laying down a foundation for a healthy, active insula. And then we don't have to decide to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. We don't have to decide to be understanding and tolerant. We just are. And it's because we've become wired that way. And a little example this morning, you may have heard that in the south of France here, we've had some devastating floods. And so the roads are really jammed with traffic. And there was a long journey this morning and a big embouteillage, and people were getting irate, cutting in, and obviously stressed. And I didn't have to think to myself, oh, these poor people maybe have been flooded or lost somebody dear. It was just a question of, oh yes, they're stressed. And yeah, it doesn't cost us anything. So we find that as we meditate, there are many benefits that arise, and they arise sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, sometimes in a surprising way. And we just watch ourselves. Oh, I did that differently. Oh, I didn't react to that thing that normally presses my buttons. So each time we meditate, we're laying down a foundation, and it's good for us. So empathy is not only good for us, of course, it's good for the world, good for the planet. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you soon for another shared meditation online. Do invite your friends, and please watch these. Have a little program of regular meditation for yourself. There are more recordings on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a mindful week. Bye for now.